guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I am going to be replacing these bearings on a Wright Stander ZK. This is a Gen 2, but this video also applies for Generation 1 or first generation ZK. So this caster is obviously for this ZK. However, this one I ordered because I was missing one. So this one is from a first generation, but it will fit. And I will, tell you what to do in a minute. So first off, you're gonna need a screwdriver, some type of hammer, you're gonna need grease. I have this type of grease. Also, I have a grease gun. Both is nice, but you don't have to have both. If you have the second generation, you are going to need a, let's see here, 1 1/6 inch socket. If you have the first generation, you're going to need a much bigger socket. That's a much bigger bolt. You're going to need a see if we can see it here, 1 1/2 inch. So pretty big, 1/2 inch. And then I have an adapter because that is a 3/4 inch socket, and then a 1/2 inch ratchet. Besides that, in order to change the bearings, you're going to need new bearings. You're going to need a grease seal, which looks like this, goes in the bottom. This is the grease seal for the top. They are already removed on this one, but they're very basic. You use a screwdriver and pop them off. This one has it. Pop a screwdriver in there, pop it off. Pretty simple. And then you're going to should have 2 sets of these bearings. If you're doing 2 casters, 1 set. If you're doing 1, the bearing should be, should be an L44 643, and the race should be L44 610. Should have, 2 bearings per side. And then, there is a cotter pin in there, interesting. If you are doing, see if I can get it out here. If you are doing the first generation, you will need a cotter pin like this, because that is a castle nut. If it is second generation, it is a lock nut. There, it's covered in grease. So first thing, you're going to need a screwdriver and clean all the grease out, because it's going to be full of grease. I already did that. Next thing is to take this nut off and pull the bearings out. Alrighty, so another thing that is nice to have is a pair of rubber gloves. You don't have to have them, but it's nice to keep your hands slightly cleaner. You're also going to need a rag or 2. I have multiple rags. So the first thing, I'm going to pull this off. So I'm going to grab the 1 1/16 socket. You can use an impact for this, or you can use a ratchet wrench like this. But I'm going to use my toe here to hold this from turning, and simply ratchet this off. I also have a cardboard box here to catch a bunch of grease and stuff, because these things are very messy. You're going to want to wipe them off afterwards. Right, so I put the nut there. Now there's 2 washers in here. I'm going to take out if I can. I should actually grab the camera here and show you what I'm doing. So, since that's off, this washer needs to come out, but I'm not sure if I can do that. Never mind, there it went. So, alright, we're gonna need to, oh no, there it came out. So, there's the caster. I'm gonna lay that there kind of in the box. Now here we got this washer. There's actually 2 washers here, and the old bearing. Gonna set that there too. We're gonna pull this bearing off if I can. kind of stuck on there. But anyway, and then the grease seal came out with it, obviously. So the bearing grease seal is all out. I'm gonna actually move this here to underneath the piece there, because it looks like it could drip a bunch of grease there. So I'm gonna take this off and clean that off, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, so I have this all cleaned up, good bit better. That's why you need greasy rag. It's not, well, a rag that's preferably old, not a brand new one. Next thing is going to be clean out all that old grease in there. I already did that with this one. So I'll do that here a second. Yeah, see if I can get that propped up there. There we go. Right, so what I like to do is use a flat screwdriver and the rag, kind of like this, and you kind of go in there and, like, I don't know, work it around so it wants to come out. There, it dripped into the box, that's good. And yeah, wipe out as much as you can with the screwdriver. I'm gonna go in here from the bottom if I can. And yeah, get out the majority of it. Kind of wipe it there on the side of the box. Then you can do this. I'm gonna wipe off the screwdriver here with the rag and try to get out a bit more of this grease. Yeah, just kind of try to get it as clean as possible in here, because chances are if your bearings went out, you probably had dirt in the grease or it wasn't greased enough. But if there's dirt in the grease, then you're going to want to get the old grease out of there, because if you leave the old grease in that has dirt in it, it would cause the bearing, the new bearing, to go out much quicker because that dirt's in there again. So I've got a decent amount out. Now I'm going to take this end here and wipe it out pretty decent here with the rag. Get out. See how much I can get out of it. Now, I am not planning to change the race. I'll check here a second if they pop out easily. And if they pop out easily, then I will change them. But if they don't pop out easily, then I'm not going to, because they look okay, and usually the races are fine. So I'm taking a screwdriver here and putting it on the rim here, and just trying to tap it, see if it comes out. All right, looks like this one is coming out. So I will be replacing this race. Then come in from the bottom and do the same deal. Yeah, I mean, if you have a better way, go for it. This is just what I know to do. Slight interruption there. But yeah, this race looks like it's about ready to come out. Here, let me actually show you guys quick. So there's the old race. There was a bit of a ledge in there. There's a bit of a ledge. Well, let's see here if I can show you. There's a bit of a ledge there. So you kind of go in there and tap it out. This one still has the races in. I'm going to leave them in, I think, unless they pop out really easily. Right. So, yeah.
Make sure you don't hurt yourself. It's definitely helpful.
Yeah, this is probably the hardest part of it, getting this race out, which is why I wasn't planning to, but I guess I'm doing it anyway.
I am not planning to change the race.
now I'm actually using the screwdriver this way, so it's hopefully not going to slip off as quick. And you just have to work it out one side to the other. Yeah, it still slipped off. Because, yeah, otherwise it goes crooked and doesn't want to come out. Alright. And, yeah, this just takes a little while.
Two hours later.
Right, so that one's a lot harder to get out, but it should come out. So I'm going to go ahead and try wiping that out again. Now that those races are out of the way, I can get more of the old grease out. Now there's kind of a ridge where these things sit down in, so I want to have that good and clean. Now, yeah, I'm gonna leave that. So we're gonna do this caster, put this caster back in first. You're gonna take the races here. Dropped that. Take these two races, and we're gonna pop these back in first. One in the top, one in the bottom. Make sure you have the angled side out. This side goes against, or goes towards the center. This side goes out. So again, set it in there and try to tap it in there carefully. Here I'm using the side so I can get the whole thing kind of, want to make sure it started in there straight. And this bottom one, interesting, it goes in further by itself. I'm gonna grab the screwdriver again and do the same thing, putting it back in, just kind of work it in gently from either side. Try not to break anything too much. But yeah, just tap it in until it won't go in anymore. And it looks like it won't there, so I'm gonna tap this down. Go side to side again. And then go this way. Alrighty, here we got started. Alright, it's going in decent. And yes, this is meant to be tight, that way it doesn't pop out. Alright, make sure that's seated in properly, which it looks to be. Now, the last thing, got all the bearings nicely greased. I'm going to put the grease seal on here, kind of. Depending on the machine you're using, you're going to want to tap it up in here in the bottom, but this time I'm going to put it on like this and put the bearing through there, and then I think I'm going to have to jack the mower up just a bit more, slide that up in, make sure the grease seal goes up in. Yeah, this one does, so that's perfect. I'm going to then grab some grease here and smear it in around here so I don't have to pump so much grease in with the grease gun. But you know, that's not a super big deal. It's just something I do. Try to get it in there evenly. We'll probably make an massive mess of it if you, well, unless you're really good at it, which you might be. But yeah, smear it in there. Yeah. Then put the next bearing on top. Make sure that seats properly down onto the race. You might have to wiggle the caster a bit. Then grab your 2 washers, slide them down on top, and lastly, your nut. Let's screw that on here, if I can. I'm just screwing this on enough to hold the caster in place from falling off. Now I'm going to grab the other grease seal, and I'm going to do the same thing on this caster over here. This is the older style caster, but it's essentially the same. So we're going to take off the nut, get it out of the way. Going to put the grease seal, slide that on. Make sure that's on there correctly. Then grab a can of grease and my bearings. Have them sit on this cardboard so that they don't make a mess everywhere. Put this bearing on here, slide it up here. Here again, make sure the grease seal fits up in smoothly. This machine is a little loose, which is why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Fill it, stuff it full of grease. That's not completely full, but there's some in there, so I'm going to call that good for right now. Put your already greased bearing on here, and you may have to wiggle it around a bit to get it to go on, because it's not wanting to go on in this case. There we go. Get it slid down on, and then this one with the nut being as big as it is doesn't have a washer, so just screw the nut on. Make sure you remember where the hole was located for the cotter pin, if it is this old style one. Well, that's interesting. I may have to let down the jack just a bit because something's not working out right. Alrighty. There, I got it on. Now, yes, this is a greasy mess, but that's okay. Okay, never mind, I didn't get it on.
Well, that was stupid.
There we go. If you have to wiggle it around kind of like this, get it on tighter. All right. Now grab these 2 grease caps, which will go right here. Also gonna grab this 1 1/16 socket. Gonna tighten it up, kind of mediocre tight, but not real tight. Gonna jack it up here a bit, tighten it a bit tighter, but make sure it still spins good. It does, so I'm gonna go a bit tighter than that even. sometimes it feels tight when you're putting it on because it's seating those bearings into place. Spins pretty decent. I'm going to go with it there. It is a lock nut, so it should stay on. Now for the big one. Going to tighten this down the same way. Oh, that is a problem. This socket doesn't fit in here. That makes it unique. If you have this problem, the ones on the older mowers do work. But in the meantime, I'll get that figured out. I'll figure that out later. We're gonna grease this up. Pop it on there. And grease it until you can see grease oozing out in the top around the washer and around the bearings. It's kind of what you want to look for, which is going to be a good bit of pumping if you don't have an electric grease gun or anything, and especially if you didn't pack the hole full of grease. There's some kind of bead in the tire there. I'm not sure why it makes that weird noise. I'm also beginning to think my grease gun's out of grease. Oh, nope, that's definitely not out of grease. All right, there it's beginning to bubble up around the edge. So I'm gonna call that good for this one. And I'm gonna need to figure out a different way to put that far one on. All right, so this socket was too big to fit on here. So using a bit of American engineering and redneck ingenuity, I used an old license plate and made a socket that fit right down inside there. So kind of unique, but it worked. Got the job done. Give them a little spin, make sure they spin properly, make sure they're full of grease, and last but not least, make sure to put these dust covers on to keep all the grease out. So you're just going to tap them real lightly, slightly more lightly if necessary, or if more than lightly. It's on there tight. And there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. Thanks.